The image of my wife collapsing onto our living room floor, clutching a handful of photographs and whispering, "Please, don't do this," should have made me feel victorious. It didn't. Because by the time she finally realized she had lost everything, the man she wanted to save no longer existed. If you've ever wondered what happens when the person you trust most destroys your marriage in complete secret, stay with me. What happened to me wasn't a loud explosion. It was something far worse. It was silent, calculated, and impossible to undo. 6 months earlier, I believed I had the perfect life. My wife and I had been married for 9 years. We weren't rich, but we were comfortable. Every morning began the same way. Coffee together before work. A quick kiss goodbye. Weekend plans. Conversations about vacations, and maybe having children someday. Looking back now, I realized she had already left the marriage long before I discovered the truth. It happened on an ordinary Tuesday night. She was in the shower when her phone lit up on the nightstand. I wasn't snooping. The screen simply lit up beside me. One message. "I can't stop thinking about last night. I miss you already." No name, just a heart emoji. For a moment, I convinced myself there had to be an explanation. Then another message appeared. "Does your husband suspect anything?" I felt my heartbeat disappear. Not race, disappear. The room became painfully quiet. I placed the phone exactly where it had been before she came out of the bathroom. She smiled at me, asked if I wanted to watch a movie, and I smiled back. That was the moment my marriage ended. I simply hadn't told her yet. I never confronted her. Not because I was afraid, because I wanted the truth, not excuses. The next morning, I hired a private investigator. For the next several weeks, I lived beside my wife, while secretly watching the life she thought I'd never see. The reports arrived one after another. Hotel receipts, security camera footage, photos of them holding hands, laughing, kissing. Then came the detail that destroyed whatever remained of my heart. The other man wasn't a stranger. It was Daniel, my closest friend for almost 15 years. The man who had stood beside me at my wedding. The man I called my brother. I stared at those photographs for hours. I expected anger. Instead, I felt something colder. Acceptance. From that day forward, every smile I gave my wife became an act. Every "I love you" she heard was simply another step toward the ending she had unknowingly written herself. I met quietly with an attorney. Everything was done legally. Every document, every financial record, every asset. I followed every law and every piece of professional advice. I copied evidence, protected my finances, prepared the divorce paperwork. No drama, no threats, just preparation. At home, nothing changed. I still bought her flowers, still cooked dinner on weekends, still listened as she lied about working late while I already knew exactly which hotel she was checking into. The hardest part wasn't pretending. The hardest part was realizing how effortlessly she lied while looking directly into my eyes. Months passed. Then our wedding anniversary arrived. She thought we were celebrating. I booked a table at the same restaurant where I'd proposed years earlier. She wore the same red dress I'd once told her was my favorite. She laughed all through dinner, talked about taking another vacation together, asked if I remembered how nervous I'd been when I proposed. I remembered everything, especially the promises. When dessert arrived, I placed a white envelope beside her plate. She smiled. "Is this another surprise?" "It is," I replied. She opened it. The smile disappeared. Inside were photographs, hotel security images, phone records, bank statements, private investigator reports, and finally, Divorce papers. She turned completely pale. Her hands began shaking so violently that several photographs slid onto the table. "No," she whispered. "This isn't what you think." I looked at her calmly. "Then tell me what your affair with Daniel was." She froze, because she realized there was nothing left to deny. The tears came instantly. She reached for my hand. I moved it away. She began apologizing over and over, saying it was a mistake, that it only happened a few times. Then she admitted it had lasted almost a year. Every confession felt strangely distant, like listening to someone else's tragedy. When she finally asked if we could fix our marriage, I quietly pushed another folder toward her. "This contains the property settlement." Her face filled with confusion. "What settlement?" "I've already filed." I explained that everything had been prepared weeks earlier. Our joint finances had been legally separated. The divorce process had already begun. The locks on the house would be changed after she collected her belongings. She stared at me as if she'd never seen me before. Then I told her the final truth. Daniel's wife had already received every piece of evidence. His employer had also been informed because their affair violated company policy. I hadn't broken the law. I had simply revealed the truth. The silence that followed lasted nearly a minute. Then she collapsed beside the table, crying harder than I'd ever seen. People inside the restaurant turned to look. I didn't. I simply stood up, placed my wedding ring beside her untouched dessert, and walked away without looking back. The weeks that followed were exactly what I expected. Daniel lost his marriage. His reputation collapsed. The friendship I once treasured was buried forever. My ex-wife called constantly. Voicemails, letters, emails, promises that she'd spend the rest of her life making things right. But she was asking forgiveness from a man who no longer existed. Betrayal changes people. Not overnight, not dramatically, quietly, permanently. Sometimes people believe revenge is about making someone suffer. They misunderstand. Real revenge isn't screaming. It isn't violence. It isn't hatred. It's becoming completely unreachable by the person who broke you. The day I stopped answering her calls wasn't because I wanted her to hurt. It was because, for the first time in months, I finally felt free. She didn't lose me the night I served the divorce papers. She lost me the moment she decided our marriage was worth risking for a secret she believed would never come to light. And once trust dies, some things can never be rebuilt.